And then we went out back to the task force.
Were you ever torpedoed?
I don't ever remember firing our torpedoes. I don't know. We never had a torpedo come toward us. But there was a time when at night we had an attack, an airplane attack, and the sky looked like it was the 4th of July. Everybody was shooting at airplanes. And this particular instance where the airplanes were attacking us, one airplane came toward our ship, and luckily it was a kamikaze plane. Luckily he didn't hit us. But the next morning the captain said that he came close enough that he cut the radio antenna. So if he had hit us, I wouldn't be here today. That was about the scariest time I can remember. Once in a while a plane would come toward us, and most of the time it was a friendly airplane. Basically, that's my experience out in the Pacific. And I could remember this one instance where we were out in the middle of the Pacific, and I got a letter from my mom, and I think it was about 7 days from the day my mom mailed me the letter, I got it aboard ship, and I can't understand how I could get something from home to the middle of the Pacific in 7 days. Now, the way we did that is there was a time where we were our ship was assigned to pass mail, and that's how we got from one ship to another. Mm-hmm. Well, this particular time when I was a helmsman at the aboard ship. I was on a special sea detail, and we were passing mail from our ship to another destroyer, and in the process of coming up onto the fantail of the other destroyer, the wake from the ship ahead of us got on the wrong side of our bow and pushed us into the fantail, and the depth charge rack pierced a hole into the bow of the ship. So it put a pretty good gap in there. So we had to be discharged from the task force. We found our way to a place where they had a floating dry dock. So we went in for repairs. They fixed the bow up, and then we went back and joined the task force. I'm trying to think of another instance. But whatever happened to the ship, we were always very fortunate that we never did enough damage. Oh, another time when we were in high seas, a pyrotechnic locker was welded to the deck of the ship, and after the storm, the captain said that this particular pyrotechnic locker was washed off the ship. That's how strong the waves are. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But anything like that can always be replaced. We never lost any of our crew members. We had a doctor aboard ship, which was nice because after we had a smaller ship, I don't think we would have had that. But my life aboard a destroyer was, I guess, as good as it can get. I wouldn't want to be on a smaller boat or a smaller ship. I don't know if I'd enjoy being on a larger ship. You get to know your crew, and it's a good experience.
Mhm.
Oh, there was one time after when we were out to sea, we heard that they had sent some airplanes over to Japan, and they dropped an atom bomb on Hiroshima, I guess it was.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that brought the war to a quick end. And after the war, we didn't have to have general quarters every day. Life was a little more calm. You didn't have to worry about attacks or anything like that. We were not attached to the task force anymore. So there was an instance where we were able to go to China. So we went up the Wangpu River, anchored there. I forget the name of the Shanghai or something like that. So we got off the ship, and I purchased some silk things that were available there. You know, one of the things I bought was a robe, which I sent home. And there was 2 instances where we went back to China and did that. So the people that lived in China had an entirely different life than what we had at home. At least at that time, I think China is a lot more modern today than it used to be. So when I came home, I went back to New York City, where Doris Keogh was, and I didn't know what to expect. Anyway, after communicating with Doris Keogh and I communicated back and forth all the time I was overseas, and I had no clue what was going to happen when we got together again. So there was no magic. I thought maybe something would happen, but there was no magic. So I decided that I would go back to New York and just say goodbye to Doris Keogh. I appreciated what you did for me. And after that, I came home. And there was a time when I was thinking that, I think it was, I must have been home for about a year. I decided there was time to get serious about the rest of my life. So, my brother and I went to a square dance I think it was a Friday night. And while we were there, we danced with different people, different ladies. And there's one lady I recognized. I said, she looked familiar. And when I approached her, I found out that she was going to Ensign McDonald dancing class. And that was something that I was doing at the same time. Well, we seemed to be having a good time together, so I found out her name. Her name was Muriel Lonice. So this is another instance where I asked this lady if I could escort her home. So she said yes, and I found out where she lived. And I guess the next day or so, I had a Wisdom motorbike, so I went to visit Muriel. Her name, we called her Mur. And I got to know her, and I decided that she was the lady I was going to marry. So we made a good life together.
Good.
That's my experience.
Okay, now I got some questions for you, okay? When you went into boot camp, what was the accommodations like?
Well, boot camp, we had a barracks.
You had barracks?
Yeah,
Mhm. Good food?
excellent food. I could never complain about the food.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What about learning to swim?
Well, when I was in boot camp, one of the requirements was that you had to swim across the pool. And most of the people who were there could just jump in the pool and swim across the pool, and they didn't have any problem. So naturally, I couldn't do that, so I had to stay behind until I was able to swim across the pool. I think I got a little better each time we tried it, but after a couple of weeks, I jumped in the pool and I said, today I'm going to do it. So I got across the pool. I really don't know if I made it all the way on my own, but when I reached the other side, the guy said, "You're out of here."
Maybe you shouldn't have learned how to swim.
No, once you're in the Pacific, it doesn't make any difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never had to go in the water after that, so it didn't make any difference.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
When you got to Pearl Harbor, what was the area like? Had they cleaned up most of the debris from when it was attacked?
Well, there was no indication that it was any attack whatsoever, other than the fact that the remains of the Arizona was there. You could never tell that there bombs, anything would happen there other than that.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing that they could get it all cleaned up
Yeah.
that quick, you know?
Yeah.
When you were out on the ocean, you were with a quartermaster. Is there more than one quartermaster per ship?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we have three. You might say three crews that are assigned different times.
Okay. Okay.
So there's 3 or 4 quartermasters, yeah.
Uh-huh.
We just stand watch at different times.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever, when you were out on the ship, did you ever have to run it like silently so that the Japanese wouldn't find you?
No,
No?
it's not like a sub.
No?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you drop depth charges?
Oh, many times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, many times.
When you drop a jet charge, there's really no way other than like an oil film coming to the water that
Well,
tells you?
You never know what kind of debris you're going to find.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We just figure if there's any kind of debris at all, you know, you got a hit.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you got out of the service, did you keep in touch with any of your buddies that?
No, there was, Jackson was aboard our ship. He was the baker. And he started up the Jackson Bakery on Maiden Lane, I think it was. Stonewood Avenue or Somerset there, anyways. But that's why we had good food, because we had a good crew.
Oh,
Yeah.
so, let me think for a minute. My train of thought's just gone. When you were aboard the ship, is that where you had to sleep on hammocks?
No, that was in Newport, Rhode Island, Quartermaster School.
But when you got on ship,
No,
you didn't have to?
aboard ship we have bunks,
Just regular old bunks?
regular bunks, 3-4 high.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Not too much room between?
Well, enough, just enough, yeah.
Yeah. Did you ever feel claustrophobic when you were on ship?
No,
When you got home, did you have trouble getting back into civilian life compared to what was on?
no, I've heard of people who might have had problems like that, but my experience from coming home, I think I was home about 2 weeks. I decided to go back to work at the Daily Record,
Mhm.
and life continued just like a normal person.
Mhm.
Some people had problems where they had to have therapy and things like that, but I'm one of the lucky ones.
Mhm. Did you use the GI Bill when you got home?
Yeah. When I was when I went back to work, I was an apprentice. So the GI would allow me to work, and they would supplement my pay so that I could get extra money while I was an apprentice. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Mhm. When you went across the equator, what did they do to you?
Oh, we had to go be initiated, you might say. We did get below the equator on one occasion.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah, that's when
That's when you turned into a polywog?
yeah. Yeah, they kind of initiate you there, but
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Some of the guys have told me some of the things they did.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, sometimes they're embarrassing too. Yeah.
Good fun.
Yeah.
I imagine there was a lot of tricks and hijinks when you had free time on board, being such a close bunch of people.
Not much aboard our ship, no.
No?
Yeah.
No?
No, some guys used to play cards, some guys used to amuse themselves in different ways, write letters and stuff like that. Yeah.
Mhm.
Whenever we got alongside a tender or something like that, like for instance, when one of my jobs was if we got alongside a tender, to make sure all the clocks were working. So on occasion, I would take the clocks down, if it's in the boiling room or whatever, take them to the tender and make sure they got them back before we took off again.
Mhm.
Yeah. That was one of my jobs. Yeah.
Did you like your superior officers?
They were all top quality.
Top quality?
Never had a problem.
Good, good.
One thing I noticed though, when we were in quartermaster school, we did a lot of saluting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So aboard ship, when you see the captain in the morning, you say, "Good morning, Captain." That's the last time you. If you
Yeah.
saluted him, it was okay. If you didn't, it didn't make a difference. All you
Yeah.
just say good morning, and you knew what your job was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Sometimes when you see these. Movies where it's about the Navy and things like that, there seems to be a lot of saluting which never happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever join any of the organizations for military people?
No.
No. No need for it?
No. I never got involved in the American Legion or anything.
Mm-hmm. Let me think. What do you think about women in combat situations?
I never experienced that, so I don't consider it a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Not for me.
Yeah.
I don't think I would appreciate that.
Ship would be kind of hard, I would think. You have to have two areas.
Well, that wasn't a problem for me, so
Yeah.
I don't. I'm glad I didn't have to experience that.
I'm sure you probably were.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me think of what else.
You mentioned the quacks. You mentioned before about getting the time check off the radio so they could shoot the stars.
Well, when I was, this is after the war ended. We didn't do that. All we did was follow the task force. But when we were on our own, the navigator would shoot the stars, get a position, so they knew where they were and where they're going. Now my job was to assist the navigator. He would tell me what star he's shooting, and I would tell him. He'd say mark, and I would give him an indication of what the time was. So in order to be have an exact time, I'd have to go to the Radio Shack and get a time tick. And I'd use the torpedo watch, which was just a small hand watch, and set that so that the navigator, when he shot the star, I would mark down the star and the time, and he would plot that.
Mm-hmm.
So we knew where we were at all the time.
Imagine when you're out in the ocean like that, and you can't see any land to get a fix on, that having the stars at night, it give you a sense of security at least.
Well, that was the only indication that we had where we were. Now, this Lorraine school that I went to was theoretically something that would indicate where you were without having to do that. What they were supposed to have Lorraine stations where they were sending out a signal that we could pick up. We could pick up a signal from that station and plot where we were, but we never used it.
Mm-hmm. Things like that and radar were very, very new.
I was, for me, it was a toy, which didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
That was my experience with it,
Yeah,
because you never used it. Yeah.
yeah. Well, it's certainly has changed. You know?
Well, now they have GPS or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
you can tell where you are on what street you are.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you wonder.
I still can get lost.
Yeah, I guess so.
Uh,
Thanks. Yeah.
Is there any funny things that happened while you were at sea or in boot camp or in school?
Not that I recollect. It was life was pretty routine for me.
Mm-hmm.
Looking back, my experience aboard ship was like I had a job to do, and you did it the best way you knew how.
Uh-huh.
And the more routine it was, the easier it was. That's why I chose the Navy. It's a routine life. They
But-
take care of you, you do your job, and everybody's happy.
Mm-hmm. When you went in, were they concerned?
Well, I really don't know because it was my decision to enlist. I have a brother that enlisted after I did, and I have another brother that enlisted later than that, and another brother that had 3 brothers. My brother and I, my first brother closest to me was in the Navy, and my other 2 brothers were in the Army.
Mm-hmm. So all 4 of you were in the service at the same time?
No, 3 of us were in at the same time. My brother Warren, he got involved in the service later.
Mm-hmm.